Hello and welcome. I'm Gohar Raza and you are watching Eureka, a program that brings the most brilliant segment of society, the scientists and technologists of the country, face to face with you. Let me begin by telling you again a story. A boy was born in a middle class family in a historical city of India, Gwalior. There were lots of twists and turns in his life. He wanted to do physics and mathematics, a brilliant student, yet he landed up doing engineering. He wanted to do job and then he landed up doing research. He wanted to remain in IIT Kanpur, but he landed up in Bangalore. And this is how his graph of education and research progressed. The only thing which remained constant in his life was excellence and desire to achieve what he wanted to achieve in life. Welcome, Professor Shiv Gaonkar.
Thank you.
Let's go back to memory lanes, which I described. Was I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely correct. Now, tell me, when you look back, was it your family because of which you had developed this commitment? Was it the environment around? Or was it the school that you attended? A small school in a historical city. What was it?
Actually, there was no very definite path that time defined. As you said, I was born in a lower middle class family. My father was in railways. My mother was a housewife. And our family was a very religious oriented family. In my extended family, the education was certainly not on the priority. But my mother and my father, they realized that if you really want to achieve something high in life, you have to get good education. So in spite of their limitation on the resources, they really encouraged me to do in education, go for higher studies as much as I wanted. The schooling which I got, people were very dedicated in the school. It was a small school. It was a Marathi medium school in Gwalior. But the teachers who taught me, they were extremely dedicated people.
Do you remember some of the teachers?
I do remember some of the teachers.
Who was the best?
Oh, actually, there was the English teacher, who was in my high school. His name is Chikteji. He was again a social worker. Not only a teacher, but he was like a mentor. You can go to him anytime, any problem which you have, you can go to him. There was a mathematics teacher, Danekar, who was there. We really were very impressed by mathematics. So the science subject, which was not in my family, but when I really was exposed to science, I was really excited. I thought this is something, which...
Was it because of the teacher?
Maybe because of teachers also. But before that, as I said, since it was only a religious family, I was exposed to only religious activities. The religious literature, the religious testament, most of the festivals, which you can imagine, they all were actually held in our house. Ours was a joint family. Right. My uncle's family was there, our family was there, my grandparents used to live.
So where did you get this scientific temper?
It was in school.
It was in the school.
It was in school.
So it was mainly school that shaped your life.
That's correct.
And forced you to develop expertise in science.
That's correct.
And in school, you were very clear that you are going to do science in life.
Science really impressed me. So I wanted to do science. There was no doubt about it. But the biggest problem was I did not have an environment of science. Because in my family, nobody was really from science.
So no help from
the family, except the encouragement which they gave. But otherwise, there was no
environment. But they knew the value of education and they always encouraged you to seek for whatever you wanted to seek.
Absolutely.
In science, when it was only limited to school, what kind of hardship did you face at home?
One was, of course, the environment was not there. So I did not have anybody to really talk to or discuss relating my problems. So I had to face the problem myself. Maybe sometime we go to a
Yet
teacher.
You were determined.
I was determined. that I will do science because I thought this is something which looks interesting. And at that time, many achievements were there in science, like things were gone on moon, and the person was landed on moon and so on. So it looks something very, very exciting, very, which one can follow for the rest of the life. So that was basically the motivation.
Did you want to become an engineer at that time?
Well, when I was a child, my father was in railways, and when he was in Agra, that time he was posted in Agra, and I must be just 4 years old. And I used to go to receive him on station, Raja Ki Mandi station. And that time my most fascination was toward the engine. So my father used to take me to the engine, and the driver would take me on the engine and show me there is a boiler there is this thing. And I had something in my mind that engine and engineering are probably the same. So I thought I should become an engineer because this looks something exciting. Otherwise, there was nothing very definite which said that I would go for engineering. But engineering looked more interesting because it had applications. You could see lots of things happening.
But you were more keen at that time in physics and mathematics?
Physics and mathematics, yes.
So how did you join engineering?
Okay, so physics and mathematics is still very fascinating. And when I was in high school, the most exciting thing was optics. So when I conducted experiments with lenses and prisms, I was really fascinated by some of the fundamental principles. But they were very exciting principles. So mathematics, of course, was always very good. The calculus, when I was exposed to, you will not believe it, but before the school started, I finished the entire calculus book. I solved all the problems of calculus.
Normally, a student in a school, at high school or pre-university level, gets completely put off when he's introduced calculus. Calculus is one of the most difficult
ones
thing in mathematics.
But the concept which you see in calculus was so profound and was so exciting that I could solve all the problems of calculus before even the school started.
You were interested in music.
Yes.
Did calculus appear to you like music?
Mathematics is, music and mathematics has some relation. You can't really explain that, what is the relationship. But yes, when you say music also, you have very definite patterns, definite tones, definite beats which are there. So there is a good relationship between the mathematics and music. But music came very independently. It is because of the Gwalior. The culture is that typically every child in the evening goes to a music school. So when I was doing my engineering, I decided that in the evening I'll go to the music college also.
You are bachelor of?
I have bachelor of music.
Music
right.
As well. Which instrument did you like the most at that time?
I was always fascinated by sitar, and that's what I play. So my education is in sitar. Though I always thought sarod is more having a deep sound, which is a lot more soothing. But sitar was more interesting.
You still play?
I still play.
At home?
Yes, I do.
I do. And you also organize concerts?
No, I don't
go to them?
Concert because for organizing concerts require different practice. And I don't find that much time. So it is more like Swantas Sukhai. So you play for yourself, but I play in the morning for about half an hour and it is good. The rest of the day then you feel fresh and, very nice. So that is.
It's a fascinating combination of music and science. We'll take a break at the moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll come back soon. Welcome back. Professor Shivgaonkar, we were talking about the music, interest in music, and when you were doing your engineering, then you were also pursuing your music. But I don't want to pursue this music part of it. I want you to tell the story of how did you land up doing electronics instead of mechanical engineering, which you were interested in since your childhood.
Actually, that is very interesting. When I went to engineering, at that time the engineering program used to be a 5-year program. And the branch was allotted after second year. I had a very good friend. And we had a competition, very healthy competition among each other. But we both wanted to be on the top of your class. We used to have very close interaction on academic discussions also. We used to share notes, we used to share books. So there was no rivalry as such, but it was a good competition.
It was a competition, but a very healthy one.
Very healthy competition. So we will share even the notes. I make good notes, I'll give it to him. But still we thought that we should really be on the top. When the allotment time came, my friend said that he will go to electrical engineering and I wanted to go to mechanical. So I thought that suits very well. It so happened in the 11th hour, he just changed his mind. And he said, well, he want to go for mechanical engineering. So I had to decide because we thought if we are both are in the same class, it is like encroaching each other's territories. So I decided to go for electrical engineering. And that time in Madhav Institute of Technology and Science in Gwalior, they were starting the branch of electronics. It was the first branch. And electronics was coming up that time.
Right.
So I thought maybe not electrical, but electronics engineering seems to be a good option now. Because a lot of new opportunities.
But during those days, it was a composite course that was introduced, at least in my engineering college, which was called Electrical and Electronics. You, right from the beginning, had electronics as a separate division.
Well, it was the first batch. So it was a lot of courses were from electrical engineering, but the emphasis was on electronics. So the degree which they gave was in electronics engineering. Yes.
So how did it happen, in fact? You wanted to do mechanical and you land up in doing something which was coming up, which generally people didn't know about.
Right.
Electronics was a very, very new area. Didn't you have crave and went to mechanical engineering department and sneak into classes?
I still used to like the courses which were offered in mechanical engineering. So for example, heat engine course or the automobile course, those courses still fascinated me. But when I got involved into electrical engineering, I realized that there is a lot more deeper understanding required to understand electronics. Also, it is very rich in mathematics. So if you look at electrical engineering, actually it is a combination of physics and mathematics. And since that was my original liking, I thought this branch really suits me because it really gives me both the electrical engineering and mathematics.
When you completed your engineering from Gwalior, the BSc engineering or BTech,
yes.
BTech, then you wanted to join a job?
Yes.
How did you land up doing MTech?
Okay, so it so happened that year our results were delayed. Normally universities the results get delayed. So by the time our results came, most of the job opportunities were over. The advertisements were not there. So we registered with the training and placement office, waiting for the job and so on. And that time somebody said, why don't you do a post-graduation from IIT? Believe me, but by then I did not know what IIT was. Nobody knew. So we had seen 3-4 friends and... there
were 5 IITs.
That time there were 5 IITs. And even if I had known, probably I would not have gone for an undergraduation for my family background and financial reasons.
Post-graduation.
Post-graduation.
Right.
So since the results were delayed and the time was there and the jobs were not available, we thought let us try for the post-graduation. So nearest IIT was IIT Kanpur. And 4 of our friends, that one from mechanical and 2 more from electrical and electronics batch, we said, let us study together and let us prepare for, this entrance examination. That time there was not a national examination.
Right. Individual IITs did their own examination. Right.
So we went to IIT Kanpur for interview. Fantastic interview. I still remember that interview. It was such an in-depth interview I never faced in my life after that.
And very informal.
Very informal.
Very informal.
But very in-depth.
Yes.
So they first asked me to write just one equation on the board. And after that, they just went on probing on the same equation for almost 30-40 minutes. So by the time I came out, I was really saturated but satisfied that yes, somebody really probed me to understand what is the depth of the equation. And then we were selected. All 4 were selected actually in IIT Kanpur.
The whole batch.
Oh, the all 4 who went there.
The whole gang of friends.
The whole gang we prepared together. We all were selected. 3 were selected. So 3 in electrical, 1 was in mechanical engineering.
If I say how fortunate for IIT Delhi, otherwise IIT Delhi would have lost one of the most dynamic directors if you had joined a job at that time and didn't do your MTech. But these chance happenings in life mold your future.
That's correct.
Now, when you started doing your research, optics was your area, or it was the communication in general?
So actually,
or antenna.
So in undergraduate program, one subject which I was really fascinated by was the electromagnetics. So that is the core subject, electromagnetics. So when I went to IIT Kanpur, they used to have a specialization in electromagnetics. So I was selected for that, and which I was very happy about. But then electromagnetics, if you see application of electromagnetics, you see in various areas, like antennas is one, fiber optics is another one.
At least electromagnetics changed the entire scientific world.
Today, everywhere you see electromagnetics only. So that time, my MTech thesis was on optical fibers. The optical fibers were just coming up. So my guide, that time who came from US to IIT Kanpur, he offered a project on optical fiber communication analysis of that. So I was interested in that, so I joined him, and I started working on optical fibers. So that's how I got into the optics. My first project was actually on optical fibers.
And then from there, you didn't want to go to southern part of India. Your guide said, no, please go. This is a big antenna which is coming up.
That's correct.
And you can contribute there.
That's correct.
Were you satisfied and happy when you went there and after an initial resistance?
Well, once I went there, the things were extremely impressive. So as I said, that I never wanted to go to Bangalore. I was looking for a job after MTech. And I was even interviewed for HAL, BEL, Bharat Electronics, and various agencies, the public sector jobs, basically. And one or two places, they had offered me also that I can join as an electronics engineer.
You were not interested in private companies?
I was not interested in private companies. I did not try for that. But then I thought, if I really want to do more, something better, one of my professors said, why don't you join the PhD program? Because these jobs were not very, very fascinating. They look like maintenance engineers kind of job. So I joined the PhD program in IIT Kanpur. Did there for about 4 or 5 months, 6 months. And then this opportunity came that in Raman Research Institute and Indian Institute of Astrophysics, they were building a very large
Did you know
telescope.
about Raman Research Institute?
Not really.
That it's one of the best institutes in the country?
I knew that Sir C.V. Raman had formed an institute. So just because of that. But otherwise, what activities they do, I was not really aware.
You were not
I was not aware of.
We'll come back to that. I have to take a break. The discussion continues. We'll come back soon. Welcome back. Dr. Shiv Gaonkar, in fact, Professor Shiv Gaonkar, when you went to do this research and also construct one of the most advanced antenna at Raman Research Institute, it was a cultural shift from northern part of India to southern part of India. But when you went to IIT Bombay and then abroad, did you feel the same kind of hesitation which you felt initially while shifting from Kanpur to Bangalore?
Actually, when I went to US, I did have hesitation because I had never been beyond the shores of India. When I went to Bangalore, some hesitation was there, but still the feeling was I am in my country. So the hesitation was not that much. But when I went to US, certainly there was hesitation. Because I did not know.
But also excitement of doing something great and
actually I did not
much better.
Yes, of course, but I did not have any feel how the US functions. Only the professor who came from the US and he was looking for somebody who can do some work for him. I decided to go with him. So I went as a fellow, faculty research fellow with him. But once I went to US, I realized that the efficiency of your work in US gets multiplied by many-fold. The same time which you were spending in India, if it's the same time you spend in US system, your productivity is much higher.
It's an amplifier.
It's an amplifier. It's an amplifier. If you work 8 hours a day in US, your productivity is extremely high. And that's what I could really do. So the professor, he was extremely happy. I was publishing, in the top most journals in astronomy and astrophysics. Actually, I would have continued there also because he wanted me to continue there for doing research.
So why did you come back?
No, I always had in my mind that I should go back. I should work in my
Big
country.
ideals, serve the country,
Absolutely.
serve your nation,
That's
serve
correct.
your people.
Absolutely.
Because of the family?
Family also. That since I came from that background, I certainly had debts for my family. I should come back and really serve them. But more than that, I always thought, that whatever you do, if you do in your own country, even if you don't achieve that much, the satisfaction is much more.
Is it because of this love for the country and serve at least the students that you initiated that program of lectures, the best lectures that could be uploaded on television and internet?
Yes, actually that came from the origin that when I used to interact with these colleges, I always found that the students are extremely bright there. After 12th, when they get into engineering, their percentage is very, very high. And if you talk to these children, they are very, very motivated. But the problem is they don't get really proper exposure, proper training, because there is an acute shortage of quality faculty in all these institutions.
Who can give good lectures?
Who can give good lectures. So material is good, but if you don't expose the material to the high quality content, the students will not be able to really perform later on well. That was the motivation. And that time actually this idea came
And you also knew that a good teacher can also shape a good student.
Absolutely. That's from my own experience, I can tell you. My shaping is just because I got some good teachers in my life.
And therefore you wanted this program to succeed.
This program to succeed. So the idea was to get the best possible person in that field and let that person teach so that the people get really right exposure, of the subject. One interesting thing is that when expert teaches a course, it looks very interesting, it looks very simple. Student gets motivated, they get excited
about the subject.
And that's what is required actually at that level.
It was MHRD's project.
Yes.
How much time did you take to initiate the project?
Actually, initially it took almost 2 years from the concept to the final approval of the project. But the project started in 2002. And it was a very coordinated project. All IITs together, we had a distributed system. So we used to have a coordinator in each
You
IIT.
brought all of them on board.
We got all
and the best of the faculty on board.
That's correct. So the chief coordinator for this was director of IIT Madras, Professor Anant. He was the coordinating. But then each IIT used to have one coordinator, and I was from IIT Bombay. And then we used to have faculty. So we used to internally distribute the courses. And
now, every university in the world has adopted that medium of instruction, that they record the best of the lectures from the teachers,
yes,
and also upload it for the benefit of the students. At that time, it was a novel idea. How did it come to your mind?
So as I said, the shortage of faculty was something which was bothering.
And this new medium was coming.
The medium was coming, which was very powerful, which had a multiplicative effect. You could reach to a large number of people. So we started exactly same time when MIT started, what they call the open courseware. But MIT's objective was very different. MIT's objective was that these are the courses we teach in MIT, they are available if you want to use it, and so on. Our mandate was very different. Our mandate was really driven by our social need. That we have institutions.
And the entire national need.
And the entire national need. So our mandate was very different. To really create a content so that at least the bright children are not deprived of good quality teaching. That was the motivation.
You took 2 years to incubate this idea, work hard on it, and then got approval from MHRD. Have you been always that strong? Because people call you a very strong person with conviction, with very certain ideas. You don't bow down before the authority.
Well, I should not take credit to only myself. It was a group of people who really meant that we should do this. They were dedicated towards this cause. And we were determined that we are going to get it. And we also knew that in government it takes time to get approvals and so on. But we were working. And as soon as the approvals came, people really started working on that. And finally we delivered.
I would like to ask you a question which I have not asked most people. You have done basic sciences. You have excelled in that. then translational research, and then also the technology part of it. What do you think should be the focus of the nation? Is it basic sciences? Is it translational research? Or is it the use of basic sciences?
Actually, I would say all. Because the foundation of any translational research or any research is the science. So you should have first a solid foundation. Of late, we are seeing that people are undermining the importance.
A lot of people will argue, let others do the basic sciences, we'll do translational research and translate
it. Unless you understand what are the fundamentals, the basic principles, how nature works, you will not be able to find the good solutions for it. So the science is certainly a foundation. You don't have to do the science, the research and translation in the same proportion, but you should really get a good feel for all this. Secondly is the research, because research really exposes to the real problems, and then you can really work on that. It keeps your mind always alert. Translation is a societal need. Whatever science we are doing, ultimately for whom? It should do for the betterment of the human beings. So if the society is not affected by that, the engineering primary job is to convert scientific principles for the betterment of the human life.
And development of the society and nation and people and humanity.
That's right.
But without starting from the basic sciences, you cannot reach this pinnacle.
You will not be able to get that, achieve that height which you want. Yes.
What has been moment of eureka in your life? When did you say, yes, I've done it. I wanted to and I've done it.
Actually, many small things. I wouldn't say they're a very large one, but when this telescope which was ready in Raman Institute, that was certainly one of the very satisfying moments.
When it worked and performed well.
It performed, we got very satisfied. But that was one of the largest telescope in the world that time at that frequency. Now, there was no other instrument like that.
Yeah, you have published huge number of papers. So which one would you say that this was Eureka paper?
The research which I did when I was in University of Maryland, College Park, this was the observation of sun. And there were certain theories which were there, but there were no good experimental results which were available. So when I observed from the largest telescope in the world in US, what is called Very Large Array, those results and the theory which were there, when I could really demonstrate that yes, these are the experimental results which really support this theory, that was extremely satisfying.
Great. When you look back at your life span, you were happy and satisfied that you had great moments of eureka in your life.
I did. I am.
Would you like to sign off by giving a message to the younger generation?
Few things I will tell to the younger generation. First is, whatever you get to do with happiness. Don't do as a burden. Many times you are asked to do something which you may not be liking, but you have to do them. Do with happiness. You will always get good result out of that. Second thing I will tell to people is, take the life the way it comes. Don't
That's
define.
what you did.
Don't define too much, because if you define too much and if you don't get it, it only creates frustration. Life is very complex. The way it comes, whatever options are available at that point of time, that moment, choose the best option possible and move on. Give your full to that, and you will find another path after some time. Thirdly, don't go by herd mentality. Whatever you like, your passion, follow that passion. If you do that, not only you will achieve the excellence and the heights, but you will be satisfied. You will be happy. And ultimately, that's what matters, You should be happy in life.
ये जीवन एक राह नहीं दो रहा है. Choose your path and move on confidently and happily.
Absolutely.
That is the message we take back home. Thank you for watching Eureka. May I, on your behalf, promise our viewers, if they have any questions, queries, or comments to make, you'll be happy to answer?
Absolutely. I will be delighted.
Write to us at eurekarstv@gmail.com if you have any comment, query, or any thing to ask. Professor Shiv Gavkar will be happy to answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for sparing so much of time.
So nice
it was
talking to you.
Great that we could have you on RSTV.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. That's all for now.